Content creation and business get exponentially easier, internet cousins, when you start to build systems. And rather than leaving to chance and feelings and spur of the moment, what you could leave to precise, predictable process to produce a certain outcome, right? Because a lot of business owners, a lot of creatives, a lot of people who know their purpose requires some visibility and they want a business around it. They don't want this to just be a hobby. Leave to chance what they could have left to a precise plan and process. So we'll start here. And in this video, we are going to explore not only the structural side of forming systems, but an intuitive approach to this, because I myself am a bit more of an intuitive and sensitive entrepreneur myself. And so the hyper-rational approach did not work for me, does not work for me. So what is a system? Because I didn't learn this even in my over $300,000 undergrad education and in many businesses where I worked for years before I went off to coach leaders and build my own thing. A system is simply a repeatable, predictable process to produce a specific outcome. It's a repeatable, predictable process to produce a certain outcome. And so with regard to your content marketing and with regard to the different trenches of your business that we will unpack, a lot of people don't have any modicum of predictable anything. And so you just feel overwhelmed. You feel like you're putting out fires, you're leaving things to chance, and God forbid, you're a little bit sensitive or neurospicy, a little ADHD, like a lot of e-cousins who find their way to my content. You don't fit the mold. It can be even harder to leave certain things to chance. You need a structure and a plan, right? And so what are the different trenches of a business, first of all? Because, like, once again, if you need to learn it to be effective in the real world, you didn't learn it in school. And a lot of content creators aren't good at monetizing their influence. They're good at creating content. So we're going to get to the bottom of getting our mindset in order and getting our system and our business in order. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. So what are the different trenches of a business at a high level, right? So you have marketing, and I'll explain what each of these is responsible for. You have sales, you have operations, you have fulfillment. We could dive deeper into more, but for the sake of simplicity, let's think about business as consisting of marketing, sales, operations, and fulfillment. Marketing is what raises awareness about what you do, right? If you were to think of it as a funnel, top of funnel, raise awareness, you get leads, you get attention from people so they know what you do. And the point of good marketing, in the words of Seth Godin, is to say, people like us do things like this. Another way to think of good marketing is that it makes selling easier. That if you build up enough of what I call KLT, know, like, and trust factor, that by the time it's time to sell something, whether it's a little widget, a booba, a doodah, a product or service, or music for that matter, or something artistic for that matter, that by the time it's time to sell something, good marketing makes the sale easier. Good marketing, let's repeat that, makes the sale easier. So at each level to constructing your systems, and I'll walk you through the framework for constructing a system, we have to think about how do the different legs of the business play into the other legs of the business. I never learned this even really in my undergrad business education, that first, okay, marketing makes selling easier. Signals to people that you want to reach. People like us do things like this, okay? Very good. We build up that know, like, and trust factor because people are more likely to do business with people that they know, like, and trust. So how are you doing there? Okay. Next, sales. We know this is where we enroll people in said solution that is going to get them from their current state of pain to their desired state of pleasure, right? That is the point of a good sale. Is Johnny is here, right? He wants to cross this river so he can be here on top of this mountain, right? So that's the current state, and this is the desired state. Good sale agitates and activates the pain of their current state and plays on the fear of loss, right? Loss aversion theory, to say, hey, you stand to lose way more by doing nothing about this than you stand to gain by doing something about this. So, hey, might as well do something about this. Here's our plan, here's our process, here's our product or service that gets you from here over the Rubicon River to your desired mountaintop. Good sale is not about manipulation, it's about transformation. It is honestly the most generous thing you can do if you believe in what you have to offer. And a lot of people don't believe in what they have to offer. Okay, so that's marketing, sales, operations. All of the logistical components, all the technological components, all the structures that uphold your business, right? And you can get lost in this sauce. I got lost in this sauce at many points in my journey, and it distracted me from doing the things that actually move my business forward. And then fulfillment is about how you deliver on your product, your service. So this is business at a high level. These are different trenches of a business. And why is this important? Because we need the lay of the land. So now that you understand this, we can understand what are the different legs of a system within your business. Because what happens is that a lot of business owners I meet, I myself for the longest time, did not understand the 4 key components of a system. And so therefore I did not understand what I needed to improve upon in order to create a predictable, repeatable process for producing certain outcomes in my business and work. So what are the different components of a system? First, you have input, then you have process, then you have output, then you have, this is my favorite part, feedback loop. And what are all these, Travis? I'm gonna get to it, cousin. I'm gonna get to it. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get to it. I'm gonna get to it. Okay, so your inputs are all the raw materials, all of the elements that go into kickstarting the process. The output is a result of the system. And the feedback loop is all the data you collect and the insight you gather from executing the system. That is so abstract, Travis. Make it make sense. This is too complex. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay, so here's how you think about your system with regard to your business, with your content creation, to simplify it and to figure out how you're doing what you're doing so you can improve upon it. You can save yourself time, energy, effort by doubling down on what you need to do to produce your desired result. Okay, so let's take, for instance, me when it comes to marketing system, right? So let's go through each of these real quick. What is the input gonna be for, let's do just I. What are the inputs for marketing? Any guesses? Okay, so input will be creative inspiration for me. It will be also my mindset and my identity, my way of being, because that will very much inform how I approach marketing, my video creation, my writing, my email communications, all that stuff. Whether I'm giving talks, whether I'm writing books, whether I'm doing some of this, marketing. Right? And if you need more support with getting out of your own way, getting your mindset in order, getting your system situated as a 5 to 6 or 7-figure entrepreneur or creative professional, resources down below to apply for the experience I run for folks like you. Okay, so you're looking at your input. As I mentioned, raw materials are your way of being, your mindset, your creative inspiration, and you're going to put that into what we call your process. And your process is basically the steps you take to turn a raw idea into a piece of content, into a piece of marketing collateral, into reels, carousels, quote posts, YouTubes, master classes. It could be in-person experiences because I have some clients who are focused more on in-person marketing than they are focused on internet marketing, right? I would also argue that back to input, I want to emphasize mindset, okay? Inspo, just writing this down for you. Okay, process, steps you take to produce content. And let's emphasize that marketing looks like more than just content. As I mentioned already, I don't want people to think it's just about being a content creator, even though that's the primary focus here. But again, it can be a mix of online and in person that yields the results you want for yourself. And then you have your output. So ideally, if you're running a business, this looks like leads, calls. If you're more of an influencer trying to monetize attention, it could look like brand deals. You decide what a worthy output looks like for you. And then finally, the feedback loop. I'll call this FB. There we go. Loop. Come on, abbreviation. Okay, so that looks like you looking at the data, you looking at the qualitative feedback you're getting from people, and considering based on all of that, what's working, what isn't working. How are people responding to XYZ versus ZYX? Based on that feedback, what you do is you iterate, you improve, and that should inform better inputs and a better process to produce better outputs. So you see how your right system reinforces itself to iterate and iterate and iterate and iterate and improve over time. But I bet you're wondering, Travis, now, what do I do with all this? What do I do with all this information about systems? This is wonderful. Well, first you have to realize that a lot of people haven't even taken the time to map out what all is in their system. And so how do you start doing this? And then only then once you do this, can you identify what some of the bottlenecks are that are overcomplicating things or that are blocking you from the level of results you would like to experience in your business, the level of flow you'd like to experience. So how do we implement all this and then have the intuitive approach to make sense of all this in a way that works for you? Okay, let's think about that. So when it comes to making your systems and making them simple so you can get more of the opportunities you want in your business and with your content with greater ease, we have to understand that first you got to kind of just lay bare, aka write down all the steps that are currently involved in your current way of doing things. And you could literally use ChatGPT to do this. Just be like, ChatGPT, I'm going to word vomit all of the legs of my XYZ marketing process right now, or all the steps in my sales system right now, right? So once you write them down, one, write it all down or dictate with ChatGPT, right? From there, you can start to structure out the chronology of things. So say I do that with my marketing system. And then from there, you could start to identify what leg of your system is not producing the results you want. So for instance, if you realize in your marketing system, you aren't producing the caliber of leads you want, we can look at that. Or in your sales, if you notice that you are booking calls or getting people who are interested, but aren't closing a lot, we can look at that. Or in your fulfillment, if you feel like you're working with clients, but not the kind of clients you want, or getting customers, but having really bad customer churn, or feeling very stressed with customer support, we can look at that. Structure it out. And then, so 3 is make observations. Cool. This is good. That alone right there will put you so far ahead of most people who've never taken time to map out their systems and then start the process of creating what we call an SOP, just means standard operating procedure. What you want to do is get to a point where you have a standard operating procedure for your marketing, a standard operating procedure for your sales, a standard operating procedure for your operations, a standard operating procedure for your fulfillment. For your fulfillment. Can I talk? Okay? And again, you don't have to do all this alone. This is part of why we do what we do around these parts. But I want to share with you now where the mental and emotional meet with this logical stuff. Okay? So what is the missing ingredient in all of this? The missing ingredient in carving out all your systems is first and foremost what we call the foundation. And let's say we have a house here. This house represents your business, your content, your vision, the money you want to create for yourself, opportunities you're calling in through your professional endeavors. The foundation of all of this, the thing that precedes all of this, because you don't have the house without the foundation, right? Is first and foremost your mindset, your frequency. I like to think of frequency as your emotional step point and your point of awareness. And what a lot of entrepreneurs and creatives don't realize is they think that their job is to just build the most pretty house ever. If they just get all their systems in order, right? And figure out their inputs, figure out their process, get their SOPs in order to get the perfect output, the perfect amount of leads, the perfect opportunities, the perfect brand deals, the perfect everything they want, that then they're cooking with kerosene, they're winning without realizing, oh, wait a minute. The foundation is what informs the construction of the whole home. You are architecting and building in real time, which is your business, which is your creative endeavor, which is your vision for yourself. And we can really only rise to the extent of our point of internal awareness and a point of internal freedom. Because thought forms, mindset, our way of being, our frequency, which we said is really just our emotional set point, plus our point of awareness, all that precedes what's in the 3D world. So the work is to realize that the foundational work, aka mindset, heart work, nervous system work, is equally important as this stuff up here. So the systems and structure are interlinked with mindset, heart set, nervous system. And it was only once I realized this that I started making more intuitive, informed decisions from a place of awareness of my foundation. For instance, I kept willing myself to get more leads, more and more leads, following all these marketing trends, taking all this advice from different coaches, not realizing that the reason I was struggling in attracting the kind of client I wanted, or the reason that I was working with people but not enjoying the sort of people I was working with at one time, was that, oh, okay, my frequency is off, my mindset is off, and therefore I'm attracting from a point of lack, or I'm leading a team from a point of lack, which is creating a culture of fear and limitation, right? And a lot of people aren't even aware of the extent to which the foundational stuff is informing the higher level stuff. So the real work here is learning to dance with the pragmatic, structural thinking alongside the intuitive, heart-centered work we get to do to free our mind so the rest can follow. This is one of the many reasons this channel exists. And this is also one of the many reasons I've made other videos on this where I've talked about, for instance, why you need to be a bad person to create your desired reality, where I talked more about different laws that govern reality and the different layers of reality creation that come before the material world. And so I recommend you check those out as well to understand more about this. But this is a great way to start with getting your systems in order to free up your time and create more flow and ease in your business and in your creative ventures. Resources down below to apply to see if it's a fit for additional support and community that I run for creative entrepreneurs and established founders. And only subscribe if you find this sort of stuff cool and useful, and we'll talk soon. My name is Travis, by the way.